Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a preview for the 2020 Honda Classic, the Honda Classic. You guys ever wonder what Tommy Fleetwood looks like without his beard? Let me throw that back up there for you. Isn't that kind of interesting for all those people that have seen him time and time again? Like, we all know what he looks like now. He looks like golfing Jesus, basically, but I found that picture and I had to use it. He is the odds-on favorite to win, so I just put it on there. He's slowly becoming one of my favorite golfers for this week, but we'll go through it all when we get there. Let me go ahead, throw up the basically the show index of what I'm going to talk about for the preview. Again, just like last week, course history, or I should say course information, course history, recent form, the 2019 DK review, grass stats, and swing stats. You can find all of this information, like the timestamps for it, in the description. To make this video faster, go ahead, drag your mouse over my face if you're on desktop. You'll see a little gearbox down here somewhere. Click on that, find playback speed, choose whatever speed you're comfortable listening to this at. I recommend 1.5. If you're on mobile, you'll see it up in the top right corner. You'll see 3 dots that make kind of a vertical line. Click that, you'll find playback speed there. I like doing that all the time just so any new person that listens knows that there's a faster way to listen to this that you may not have known before. And it's actually pretty smooth. I would recommend, if you're watching any podcasts on YouTube, use that function. It's amazing. It's great. I mean, just think of it. If it's 2 times speed, that means you're watching this in half the time that it takes. 1.5, obviously, if it's an hour, it's going to be 45 minutes. You save 15 minutes. It's awesome. So yeah, just wanted to go over that once again, and I probably will do it in all my videos. It'll just be my little shtick, going forward. So okay, let's go ahead, throw up the course information. We are at PGA National Golf Club down in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, which is 77 miles north of Miami, so we're pretty far south. It's Bermuda grass, and if you've been here to the channel before, we went over this like during the Waste Management Open. That was not Bermuda grass. It's far too chilly for Bermuda grass to actually survive at the TPC Scottsdale. It's too chilly. So if you guys thought that was Bermuda, it isn't. I would recommend you go back, do your homework. Same thing applies for the desert, what's it called now? The American Express in Palm Springs, where I lived for 2 years. Bermuda doesn't exist right now. So there wasn't Bermuda there either. And if Bermuda doesn't exist in Palm Springs, which is south of Scottsdale, then it's not gonna survive in Scottsdale. But we are on Bermuda, and we're actually on a strain of Bermuda called Champion Bermuda, which takes in cold weather just a little bit better. So no matter what, we're on Bermuda this time. So go ahead, fire up those Bermuda stats. They're going to matter. The golf course was designed by Tom and George Fazio. I couldn't really put George up there, otherwise I could just make the font smaller, but G Fazio is George Fazio, just so you know. And the Fazios, or at least Tom, has designed multiple golf courses, of which I didn't do my homework on. So I apologize. I should have given you that information, but go ahead, look up any Tom Fazio track. I've never played on a Fazio track. I've played on a Pete Dye course, so I know Pete Dye, like, that matters, looking at those types of stats. But for Tom Fazio, I'm not positive. We are on a par 70 this week, so really you just need 1 stroke under par each 4 rounds to get that sub 70 bonus on DraftKings, which is 5 points. It's a big deal, but this is a hard golf course, so there's going to be a lot of hazard. I mean, there's a lot of water on this course. People are going to find the hazards real easy. If you're going to be looking at stats past what I provide, I would probably recommend maybe bogey avoidance, as well as I want to think like good drive accuracy or good drive percentage is going to matter, or driving accuracy will matter, because I think most people, that's not fully true. Never mind. I was going to say most people are going to get themselves in trouble there, but the finishing hole is a par 5 that water surrounds like 3/4 of the green. So if you think about it, people trying to get home in 2 have they're going to be around like 250, 260 out. And it's gonna, I would say some of them can use long iron, but most of these golfers are gonna be fairway woods. Fairway woods into a green that's surrounded by water, very difficult to do. I know these guys are good, but that's still very tricky. And the left side of the green is protected by a bunker, a false slope. Like, the green is protected. We'll see water balls there, but I mean, they can still save par. It's a par 5. Either way, that's not the only hole that has water. So I still think all around accuracy is going to matter. I've heard people talk about approach stats. We can go and review the 2019 DK page and see how much approach really matters. And now it's just 1 year, but it's good to know. That would have been the stats leading up until the tournament, as opposed to like someone's player profile, which we don't even know what that consists of, being a good, course fit. So I just, let's go and review the stats, see what it looks like, see if it'll spit anything out for us, and then we'll go from there. But here's the golf course. They've played here for many years, so there's a bunch of course history, course data on it. Mine goes only back to 2013, so if you want to find more, I would strongly, suggest looking at other. I just don't think it really is gonna apply unless you're really doing kind of like a year by year and then trying to combine them together type of analysis to see, okay, did the year before matter? Did the last 3 years of average course? If you're going that in depth, you can still go further back. But I guess without further ado, we can go ahead and get into the course history. So I have that up. I have it sorted by players playing in the field as well as their average. And this is without the Monday qualifier. So I think we're going to have, I actually really don't know how many golfers will qualify. Probably 4, most likely. There'll be 4 additional golfers that'll be added here, with the possibility of them actually having course history. Most of the time, these guys that do Monday qualify are just, I wouldn't say that you're run-of-the-mill, trying hard to get on the PGA Tour type of golfer. Some of these are actual golfers that used to play on the PGA Tour that no longer have status. So either way, there'll be 4 golfers. Just come back for the lineup construction video. You'll see those 4 golfers, if they're even relevant. I'm not sure yet. But right now, currently, course history, as you can see, a lot of these golfers that are up at the top have very little amount of tournaments under their belt here. So if I were to, first of all, go ahead, take a snapshot of this, pause the video, look at it. But I'm going to go ahead and remove 0 and 1 just to get a little bit clearer picture of guys that actually have good course history here. We're going to see Benny Ann up there. And again, he only has 2 events, and one of them being a top 10. Last year, 36, not very good. Ricky Fowler has pretty good course history. We can go ahead, take out the missed cut, and that brings his average down to 14.5. But as it currently stands, it's 24.57, which isn't bad. Lee Westwood, for the longest time, did not have PGA status, so he finally qualified. I think it's because he had a top 10 finish last week. I don't remember, but he got invited here. So he has, similar course history to Ricky, just 4 fewer events under his belt, but it's still something to consider. Now, Jim Furyk played the last 2 years, hadn't played the 5 years prior to that, but I bet you he played even further beyond that. So if you want to see more of Jim Furyk's course history here, I just go ahead, look it up on the interwebs, and you're going to find that information. Adam Schenk's a young golfer. You're not going to get that information, unlike Jim Furyk. 29.5. That's pretty consistent. So if you're looking for a cut maker with a little bit of upside, he's probably a good one to choose from. Ryan Palmer, you're going to hear a lot about him all over. I know the joke is he finds water. His golf ball has a magnet in it that's just attracted to water. He still has really good finishing positions. I don't remember what his salary is, but if we take out his missed cut from 2018, 22.50 is pretty good. I mean, that's basically third in the field. But of course, we got to add that. And instead, he's now sixth in the field, minus the guys that we took out that only have one or two, or 0 or 1 events under their belt. Well, 1 event under their belt. But yeah, you can see the rest of the golfers. I would say, you know, a notable maybe Russell Henley. If we take out his missed cut, 24.17. I mean, that'd probably be good for like 4th in the field. Good finishing results, but we would have to see what his salary is before we get really gung-ho on playing Russell Henley. Definitely has the upside, so keep that in mind. And he just had decent recent form at the Genesis Invitational. Vegas might be another notable golfer, but yeah, I'm not going to go through all of this. You guys can take a look. Here's Brooks down here, and yeah, Russell Knox was doing well up until the last few years. So either way, go ahead, take a look at this, or pause it, look at your favorite golfers. I can unhide the 0 and 1 events. That way you can see more of the golfers. But either way, just letting you guys look at this information. We can go ahead and get into the recent form tabs. I'm just going to start with 2019 right away. So I always tell you guys, take a look. Course history last year, recent form. Here's your recent form column. And then your weeks prior. So this goes in order. I haven't really explained that in the past, but I think if you follow this, or you just follow golf in general, you know what they are. So you got the WGC Mexico, and like the note says, it's played at the same time the Puerto Rico Open is played. Well, or you could flip that and say Puerto Rico is played the same time the WGC Mexico tournament is played. But then it's Genesis, AT&T Pebble, Waste Management Open, Farmers Insurance Open, the American Express, and Sony Open. So this is interesting because last year, I want to say, was the first year that the Honda Classic followed the WGC event. And that WGC event usually always has an alternate event. This is considered, these two columns here are considered last week because they are played during the same week, which was the week prior to this. It's really interesting because you have a really strong field with the WGC Mexico, and then you have a really weak field with the Puerto Rico Open. But still, I like to track those stats and then also present them, talk about them a little bit. But we only have 1 year where this happened. So when we look at last week's stats, we're going just to see one single tournament that was played the week before. We're not going to see 2. So who knows how relevant finishing, decent or even poorly at the Puerto Rico Open really is. I mean, we can go ahead and scroll down here and just see all of the finishing positions, which look pretty good, at the top. And then as we scroll down here, we see kind of bad ones. But your winner last year that played at Honda Classic, I should say your winner at the Puerto Rico Open that played here at the Honda Classic did not do well. Missed the cut. I'm gonna let you guys look at all of the light green or top 20 finishes at the Puerto Rico Open. You can see it's kind of a mixed bag. Yes, I'm from Minnesota. I say bag. I know it's bag to some of you guys, but just get used to it. So anyways, top 20, 20 to 40, that would be this yellow color. Orange color is 40 to 60. It's just all over the place. So I don't know really what to make of that. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Let's go down the years. As you can see, course history doesn't really matter. We have a little bit more course history here. I think just primarily because my stats go all the way back to 2013. So we're going to have people like Vijay Singh, who has course history, and some older guys, Ryan Palmer, Lucas Glover. They're all going to have that course history. We don't really see a lot of young guys up here, Wyndham Clark and Kyung-Hoon Lee. But, 2018 course history, we have a couple gaps here. Golfers who hadn't played here before, with just different variations of recent form and last week finishing positions. So, I mean, it's kind of shaping up to be one of those hodgepodge events that, Not sure really how much course history matters. I mean, if I'm looking at this as it is, I would just say some course history matters. It doesn't even look like you need good course history to do well here. I mean, the orange is basically it's 40 to 60. That's the range that this color is coded as. It's in between. You see some light red down here, which is 60 to 80th. I just don't see course history. I would just say some course history matters. You can get away with some of the good rookie golfers that probably have good Bermuda stats, maybe, who haven't played here before, doing well. I mean, Tyrrell Hatton wasn't a rookie, but it was the first time he had played this golf course. Wes Bryant, same thing. But yeah, I think some course history will matter. Now, recent form, of course, this is the recent form tab. If you were watching that as well, again, it's all over the place. You see some light red, you see some dark red, which is not good. Some green, some yellow. Green and yellow, those are good colors. They're fairly low, so it's all over the place once again. So there really isn't a tell when it comes to recent form. I wouldn't even suggest find all the golfers that have good recent form. You know what I did last week? I'll do that this week as well. I'll go ahead and throw on all the filters. That way you can we can filter by recent form, and you guys can kind of get a look to see what the finishing positions look like, just how many there were, and like what type of golfer, what their salary was, what to expect from them, perhaps. You can also see the golfer, and I mean, yeah, just get your own sense of how much recent form matters. I, of course, am always trying to find the optimal lineup, so I'm not just looking at, someone who's $10,000 that has good recent form, play him all the time. Or anyone that's low priced, like Byung Hanan, 7,400. That's probably not a good example. I don't see anyone that's less than 7, but I would use someone less than 7 just to make a point here. Like 6,800 Jamie Lovemark, 62.00 recent form. You know, he's at 6,800, which might be a no zone for some of you guys. And if you are going to play someone at 6,800, maybe you're like, well, I'm not going to play anyone that has poor recent form. I'm going to play someone that has good recent form that's around that price. Didn't matter for that tournament, 7th place finish. So yeah, definitely keep your mind open when constructing lineups. Don't just stick to recent form. Having these two golfers would have been really difficult to construct a lineup that would have done well. It's not impossible, don't get me wrong. You could have definitely filled in with a lot of these lower prices. You know, what is this? 43,600 for those 5 golfers. So then you had room for 6,400, but that's not good, you know. Is there anyone even in the top 10 that's 6,400 or less? Either way, we don't have to go into this fully, but you can see there isn't anybody. But yeah, I just want to show recent form. It's all over the place. Don't get caught up with recent form, but you know, keep an open mind. Play as much as possible within the recent form. You know, someone missed a cut last week. Like, I can go by this. Didn't really matter. You know, you had 3 guys right here inside the top 4 that had a missed cut the week before. Chad Collins, do you guys even know who that is anymore? Morgan Hoffman, I know people probably know of him, but you know, if you're kind of a new upcoming DFS player, like, you probably don't know those names. Billy Horschel's in the field, you know him, so you could just automatically say, well, Billy Horschel was good on Bermuda, he's good at Florida tracks. That missed cut at Genesis, that's a POA course, didn't even matter. Well, what about these other guys? Did the same thing apply? Maybe. Quite possible. I'll let you guys determine that. I'm not gonna weigh in on that. I just don't. I'm basically gonna, when I create my lineups, I'm basically gonna go off the bucket scores or my bucket system and determine what other stats I want to go with that. Surprise, surprise, it's gonna be Bermuda stats because those to me are important. But here you go. Here's recent form top to bottom. You don't get your winner until the 11th person down the list, or the 10th person down the list, right? 11th person. And then like Ricky Fowler at 6. I don't know if, you know, pairing these two guys up. Either way, you would have to have chosen just those two guys out of the whole top 20 here of recent form, best recent form. Again, don't get caught up with recent form. I think I heard this somewhere. I'm not sure which podcast I was listening to or which video I was listening to, but it is notable. This is usually the first tournament dating back since almost forever that followed the West Coast swing. So all the courses, all the tournaments in California, Mexico, that kind of thing, this is the tournament that would follow the end of that swing. So you do go from different surfaces. You go from Poa annua to Bermuda. And this is actually a Bermuda track. When we get to the players, that's not a Bermuda course. So please keep that in mind. And when we go to the API next week, I'm not sure if that's actually strictly Bermuda. I think it is, but there might be some overseed. And if there is overseed, it plays different. It's not true Bermuda. You have to keep that in mind. But anyways, again, we went the opposite way. As we sort through recent form, you see some golfers, like, I'm not trying to deter you away from trying to find a golfer that has good recent form. Just don't pick all 6 golfers with good recent form. Because it's not pairing up well right now. Here's actually a week. Did that happen in 2015? No. So WMP stands for World Match Play, or WGC Match Play. I like creating acronyms to make it easy up here. HCO, I'm gonna probably change that to THC, which is kind of funny, because it's the Honda Classic. It's not the Honda Classic Open. Either way, at THC, that's gonna be funny. But this was the first time the World Match Play or WGC Match Play. I shouldn't say the first time, because I think it happened in 2013. Yeah, so it happened in 2013 as well. I don't calculate recent form, so this is always a calculation here. But you can see it starts with column E and goes to J. So I totally skip this WGC to create the recent form. Just want to, because I mean, in all reality, as these guys play in their pods, if you guys aren't familiar with match play, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining it, but really, if you get kicked out early, you really technically don't get worse than 17th place, because it starts with the Sweet 16 basically. Once you get out of pod play, it will be basically top 16 from there. So, you know, the 4 golfers that get knocked out there, they're considered, you know, 16th place. I think, right? Maybe I have that wrong. Maybe they're 9th place. I can't remember. I'd have to look at how I did it. It might be 9th place or 13th place. Maybe it's 13th place. Either way, I don't include it because it's difficult to figure that out, you know, when you create the recent form average. I would just say technically it just doesn't matter, because if you get, you know, to the top 8, the quarterfinals or whatever, how many holes you played matters. What if you just waxed all your competition and then lost, you know, when it became basically single elimination? Yeah, it just, I don't know how to calculate that. So I don't calculate it. Again, that was a longer explanation than you needed, but I just wanted you guys to know that. But again, I can go ahead, sort it by recent form. You have 1 golfer that you would have wanted to use, and maybe 2, but it would be difficult. I think I've made my point. Recent form probably just does not matter, so please don't look at it. All right, so we'll go to the 2019 DK review, and what I like to do with this is basically go through everything, except for the bucket system. I won't go over that until the lineup construction video, but you guys can take a look right now what it looks like. You can see all of the 1s, all of the 2s, and the 3s. And those, again, if you've been with me, you know what these numbers represent. You just have to look at the last year column to see what number that corresponds with. And then the last week bucket, again, look at the last week column. And so you'll understand what that is. So again, take your snapshot, pause it, see what matters when you create your lineups, or you can just come back to the lineup construction video and see what those buckets really mean. But I'm going to go ahead, hide this information because it doesn't really matter right now as we go through this. You can look at the odds. I'm not going to speak much into it other than that was a hell of a, if you were on Keith Mitchell, put a dollar on, you got $300. But yeah, it's kind of a mix. I almost wanted to tell you guys it's the top golfers in the field are going to finish well, but that's not true. You see a couple 300 to 1 odds players that were inside the top 10. Here you go, fantasy points per game. That's just straight from the DK download, or the export that you get to add, to grab information from. And then the value obviously is just points per game divided by salary times 100. It's basically per 1,000. I think that's how you would explain that. But this varies. I mean, like, that's not very good value, but he finished 6th, and he would have won you a GPP if you played him, most likely. I don't know what his DK points were. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and hide this information as well. To me, it doesn't really matter. We don't have to talk about course history or recent form, but you guys can just take a look. This is a cleaner view. Actually, I'll keep it right here since we have all the stats that I had for 2019 up. So you can just see the kind of different combinations between course history and recent form and just how much it mattered, how much it didn't matter. It's all over the place. But I like to look at Bermuda stats. And as we look through this, this is kind of concerning because it just didn't apply. Now, VJ, I bet you his Bermuda stats were much better throughout his years. I think he's 54 years old right now. And if you think about it, if my stats go back to 2013, he still would have been fairly old. He would have been older than Phil Mickelson is right now. I mean, if you follow along. So Phil Mickelson in 2020 was younger than Vijay Singh. And, if I were to go back to 2013 and use stats from there, he was younger than VJ then. So this is just his tail end of his career. That's what that number represents. Wyndham Clark, you can see that 68 overall Bermuda matches his 2019 overall Bermuda, and it's a round number. Like, as in, there's no 0.5 or 0.05 or 0.71. There's no point anything. That probably means he's only played one event. That was Bermuda. And that was probably the Sony Open, because that would have been the only other Bermuda course prior to the Honda Classic that any of these golfers could have played on who didn't play in the Tournament of Champions, which means they would have had to have won the year before. Wyndham Clark did not. So anyways, he probably got a 68th at Sony Open. Kyung-Hoon Lee, I don't know how you get 68.33. Sanderson Farms Championship. That's where that would have came from, because that was the alternate event next to the WGC HSBC. So there were 2 events prior to, and that would have been, like 2 months prior, which I'm not sure if it really counts, but still, you would have seen what his quote unquote 2019 Bermuda stats were. So yeah, 2 young guys that had poor Bermuda splits, but the rest of them pretty decent for overall. And I think in the field, so if I were to sort this, I'm not sure how many good golfers we're going to find, but out of the top 20 here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golfers who missed the cut. So 5 out of 20 missed the cut. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 golfers that finished top 10. And then 7, 8 golfers that finished top 20. So a little bit better than missed cuts. And then everyone was kind of in between that you wouldn't have wanted to have on your lineup unless you're just looking for made cuts. But you wouldn't have wanted Justin Thomas at 30th place, or Webb Simpson at 36th place, or even Gary Woodland at 36th place as well for their price points. Like, that was just no good. So really, 8 golfers you wouldn't have wanted to play, and 8 golfers, it's even more than 8 golfers you wouldn't want to play. You just wanted 8 golfers that finished top 20. But you could have easily got on some of these guys. I mean, like Ricky Fowler, Brooks Koepka, elite golfers. You could say the same thing about Webb. Maybe not back then, but certainly right now, or JT at 30th place, not good. You know, that's the return on points just would not have been good. But yeah, some of these other golfers, if I were to give you, so what I do in my spreadsheets nowadays is I give you how many events, like total events that they've played on Bermuda. I bet you Anders Albertson doesn't have a lot of events under his belt. Jimmy Walker would have, but you know, Lyme's disease, not sure, you know, how much that was affecting him back then. I know, like, I still won't play Jimmy Walker because of the Lyme's disease. I've heard it doesn't go away. It affects you at different times. So it's difficult to play Jimmy at any time, at any tournament. Austin Cook, this represents a made cut, but did not finish. So that would be your Saturday cut. So all these 75s here, or the 275s you see. I'm going too far into this, but you guys can just take a look. Overall, Bermuda, I still think it matters. You know, you could definitely find a lot of these golfers. You have enough here in the top 20 to choose a significant amount of golfers that have good Bermuda. In fact, why don't we just do that right now? So let's say we wanted Brooks. So we have first place there. So there's 4 golfers at 31,600. What would Brooks give me? So I still have room for $7,200. I guess if I were to scroll a little bit down to see if we can grab somebody that was 72 or less that made the cut, it's not looking that way. So yeah, I wouldn't say pick all 6 golfers that have, you know, I get this. This is only a year. This is only a year of data. But it's worth mentioning, you know, you can't go full in on Bermuda stats, not every single year. And this is the 2019 Bermuda. Again, there weren't a lot of golf tournaments. I think maybe 4 max. I'd have to go back to my Bermuda spreadsheet to see what it is. And for those that have not seen this before, these are all my spreadsheets for all the tournaments that I do. So I do a lot of data gathering. I don't have a database yet. I am working on it. But I just want to see how many events in 2019 we would have had. So Sony, Tournament of Champions, RSM, okay, Safeway Class, not Safeway Classic. This would be Sanderson Farms and the CIMB. Okay, so we would have had 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we would have had 5 tournaments for the Honda Classic. That would have represented this 2019. Not all these golfers would have played in all 5, but we do have 5 tournaments worth of data that we could have pulled from for these golfers. And you can see it didn't really matter, honestly. Okay, so done with the Bermuda stats. Probably a little longer than it should have been, but we still got through it. I am going to go ahead and just sort all of these stats here. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Shots gained tee to green, shots gained off the tee, shots gained approach, shots gained around the green, shots gained putting, proximity, greens and reg, and birdie or better. So in case you guys don't know what those abbreviations are, I just let you know right there. I'm going to go sort them. Now, I've said this in the past. In 2019, I did this a little differently. These are the PGA ranks heading into the tournament. It's not by field, or it's not by the field, but if I were to sort this, you're going to see the top guys for their respective categories that I'm sorting by. Justin Thomas, top of the tee to green stat. That's a no-brainer. He is that good of a golfer. So, of course, that is something you can apply here. But yeah, you see a pretty heavy amount of golfers that finished inside the top 20. That's what the screen number is. Not a lot of golfers that really missed the cut, but altogether, tee to green didn't really. I mean, it doesn't really align with golfers that you need in the optimal lineup or a winning lineup. You could obviously grab 1 or 2 golfers from this. You have the first place and 4th place. That makes sense. But I wouldn't just go, yep, those 6 guys are on my lineup, or let's pick somebody in here and then whatever. I will say it's because of this tournament being so difficult. Getting 6 out of 6 through the cut is going to be difficult. And having Byung-hun An, oh, that's too expensive. Let's say Sung Jae Im at 51st place might still win you a tournament, in all honesty. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed at this tournament for DFS players because it just shapes up to be that way. Off the tee, didn't really matter. You do have first and second place here, though. So maybe you can find that, but definitely don't go all 6 golfers. There's a lot of missed cuts right in this if we sort by that category. Approach again. Now, again, this is just top 20. These are top 20. If you count from top to bottom, those are the top 20. If I keep scrolling down, you're going to see more. So obviously second place is just, outside of the top 20. So approach actually kind of looks like it's a pretty decent stat here, especially if we're looking for golfers that are kind of a good value. So, having these golfers in your lineup will not kill you. I mean, it's in your 7K range. One guy 8,800, even like Jim Furyk. So now I can play with anything like this. This all together right there is 37,900. So if I were to pair that up with Justin Thomas, that's 49,800. So you could have put those 6 golfers in a lineup and probably did pretty well. So you could go by approach and have a good lineup. Now, you don't have first place, you don't have second place, you don't have third place in this lineup, but you have all 6 of 6 making the cut, and 5 of them are in the top 20. So, I mean, it was doable. Well, I shouldn't say doable, but you could go this approach. Funny to say that with it being shots gained approach, but it's definitely more of a ball striker's golf course. You do want good ball strikers here, especially if it gets windy. Good ball strikers hit the ball through the wind. The wind doesn't really affect ball strikers. It's always a good thing to remember. Around the green doesn't really apply, and I think the reason being is prior to this tournament, they were all on POA greens, POA surrounding, or approaches, or even Kikuya approaches. Those types of surfaces pretty difficult to hit out of, or those types of turf grasses are hard to hit out of, especially if you're more of a Bermuda specialist. But Bermuda's not easy to hit out of either. It's a different type of difficult, but I guess I haven't pulled any of these golfers to actually know why they would like one or the other. Either way, you could find golfers here. Obviously, you see no one inside the top 10. I'm a big proponent of finding golfers inside the top 10, so I don't think it really applies. I should have filtered out Chris Stroud since he did not show up at this tournament. Putting, Ricky Fowler, elite putter. Putting didn't matter here, except for Ricky Fowler. Sometimes I like to go like overall Bermuda with putting stats, but you can see already like that doesn't apply for Adam Scott. Does it? And it doesn't really apply for Zach Johnson, but he did make the cut. Yeah, all of this doesn't matter, and you see a lot of missed cuts and just not very good finishes. So putting, don't look at it. I'm surprised I don't see Denny McCarthy here. I thought he would have played this tournament. He did play this tournament, and he missed the cut. So he's known as being a putting god or whatever. Like, he's good at putting. Wow, I could have easily found him. He's right there. He's right in front of my face. I didn't even have to move. He's at the top. So Denny McCarthy was 24th, the 24th ranked putter in the PGA entering this tournament. He missed the cut. So putting, wouldn't really go by it. I would not think highly about it. Proximity, again, doesn't really look like it's that important. Green and reg, sure. I mean, this kind of goes hand in hand with approach, but you do see some decent golfers here at the top. I mean, you can construct a lineup with those 5 golfers, which, yeah, definitely take that into consideration. So it looks like it's an approach type of course. This is super interesting. So this is birdie or better. I mean, you don't have your missed cut until the 10th person down the list, or 11th person, 11th person down the list. Without them, and then following that, like, you would not miss it would be very difficult to miss grabbing these golfers here. Or if you went top to bottom and just say, I'm pairing these golfers as many times as possible. Of course, this little chunk here wouldn't have done you any good, but you would have hit more times than you would have missed going by birdie or better. So that's interesting to see. I would not have thought that. Okay. Probably spent a little too much time on the 2019 DK page, but I think you guys probably would appreciate that. What I like to do with the 2020 DK page, which I'm at right now, if you guys can't see down here, is just go over grass stats and swing stats. So that's all I am going to do. I'm going to go ahead, hide the official world golf ranking. So that's a new column that I've added this year. Yeah, I'm not going to, we already went through course history and recent form. We did for all the other tournaments, not for this one, or not for this year. So you guys can take a snapshot of this right here. Actually, let me go ahead and, I mean, again, course history and recent form, we want some. It doesn't matter how good or how bad, but I can go ahead and sort really quick, go through some of these golfers. Now, I don't know if, I like using course history no matter what, because if someone's comfortable at this golf course, especially the year before, like they have good memories of it, it's still going to provide a good spark to that player's confidence coming into this tournament. I almost would like, if there were more golfers that had missed a cut that had good course history here, I would really heavily target them, because that is the second ranked finishing position heading in this tournament that finds success. The first one is not playing. So seeing that course history, recent form, not playing, Tommy Fleetwood, I think this week, I think the reason why he is the highest priced guy is primarily because of that. A lot of things are lining up. So maybe DK is kind of following the way that I look at data, or that I value players. But yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I would actually like to see. It might be a trap. 11.6 is very expensive, very difficult, but he probably matches everything we want in a golfer here. That was too long. Let's just speed through this. You see a lot of low-priced guys that have good course history. Also have only played this tournament once. Just so you guys are aware of that. The other guys that have good course history, the price kind of reflects, how much you might want to play of one guy. One guy that sticks out is Russell Henley, 7,400. That's pretty cheap. Same with Jim Furyk. That is very cheap. Westwood might be popular from how well he played last week, but I kind of like him. Yeah, I think he might be worth a play for sure. Wallace, I don't know. I know he went through club change, maybe. I know something kind of drastic within his game changed, and he did not do well last week at the WGC Mexico. I mean, he was never in contention. He was always at the bottom of the leaderboard. So hard to gauge, Matt Wallace. Play him if you're brave. Beauregard, this is super interesting. His miscut was at the Puerto Rico Open. So you can assume a lot of these guys that have a last week score here and a cheap price did not play in the WGC Mexico. That doesn't apply to every golfer, because Wallace did. Westwood did. I don't see anyone else up here at the top. But either way, here you go. Course history, top 20 course history. These golfers, top 20 recent form are these golfers. It's kind of interesting to see all the last year ones and last year twos. Again, I'm not going over bucket system right now, but that's the first thing that has caught my eye. Daniel Berger is a golfer I would be very interested in if he was an $8,900. I might still be interested in him, but that's pretty expensive. Hard to think about playing someone like him. But I am not going to go over recent form like I did with course history. I'm going to go ahead and hide this information now. You know what I should have done? I am so sorry. I did not have everyone in that. So I don't have this information populated yet. So surprise, surprise. Here we go. Sorry, that opens up Naismith, McNeely. Here, let's go back course history again. Doesn't add anybody here, so no worries, because I only took 0, 1, 2, and 3 out of the events. You're gonna see you wouldn't have seen Kurt Kitayama. That'd have been the only guy, and Victor Hovland down here. Okay. Well, that was a waste of time, just a little bit, but either way. Here we go with Bermuda stats now. So here we go with the grass stats. I want you to pay attention to how many events. These are total events throughout from 2020 to 2013 within that 7-year time frame. This is the total amount of events that any of these golfers played on Bermuda. So you can see Matthew Wolff hasn't played that many, has an overall Bermuda score of 18, or average of 18th place. In 2020, he has an 11 average finishing position. So obviously that was good. Maybe he went 11, 18, and then 27 or 26, whatever the number would bring it back to 18. So what, 7 different, so 25th. So yeah, he could have an 11th place, an 18th place, and a 25th place. Still none of them top 10. At 7,700, that probably works out. Like, any of those finishes would be decent, would be good. Tommy Fleetwood, 14 events, not a lot in comparison to like Brooks Koepka, Ian Poulter, and Ricky Fowler, but still, he's an elite golfer, near the top of it, pretty close to being an elite golfer. Maybe not so much, but definitely a world-class player. It's probably a better definition of him. 21.36 in 14 events, pretty good. 50% clip of finding the top 10, still, that is very good. Victor Hovland, only 2 events, found the top 10 once, overall finishing position of 22. I don't know what his finishing position would have been inside the top 10, but you can, I mean, let's say he finished 10th. For this average to be 22, the opposite would have to be 34, I think, right? 10 and 34. Yeah, equals 44, so 22. So that would be kind of your polar opposites, because I know he doesn't have a win on Bermuda since he just won last week, which, no, that was past Palom Grass. So I don't really quite know. Maybe it's just more even, so maybe it's 9. Well, so if he finished second, then he'd have to finish 42nd. That's how that would have went. I don't know what I was thinking. I went 10th, so I went the opposite way. Okay, that makes sense. So that was your best case scenario for, like, you know, close average positions. But the worst case would be 2nd and 42nd. But either way, let's get past that. Justin Rose, I like that. He is one of my favorite golfers here for 9,900. Pretty good. Don't discount Brooks. I know he kind of has a he doesn't really have a lingering injury. He just has a knee that he had a procedure on that he said he's not sure he'll ever be 100% with that knee. I don't know what that really would entail. I don't think you should be scared of playing him. Again, he had surgery to repair it. So it was bothering him much more than it's probably bothering him now. It's my guess. And last time he suited up, he didn't do so bad. What was it? 43rd at Genesis, but he was playing better than that. I think he was the low, like, you wanted to roster him on Saturday because he had a pretty good, you know, birdie round. I just think he wasn't making a lot of putts. Either way, I just want to mention that because, let's put it this way, at 11-2, he would need to get first or second place. I think if he gets third place, it's not enough points. I don't think I have the points down. Yeah, I don't have points down for 2019. I really don't know how many points any of these guys scored. Or maybe, no, I don't. So, let me see if I have it in the notes. So 513 total, 76. So, like, if you look at these points here, 94, 99, 92.5, 94. Now, granted, if So this was the $5 winning lineup last year. I guess it doesn't really matter. Maybe I'm looking at this a bit wrong. Because I usually like to go kind of like, you want a value of 1 on salary when it comes to points. So you'd want Brooks to score 112 points to get back to value of his salary. But maybe for this tournament, we scale it down to like 0.9 value or 0.95 maybe. So basically what I'm trying to get at is I take the calculator out and his salary is 11,200. If I were to times that by 0.95 and then times 0.01, we'd want, no, 106 isn't going to do it either. So maybe it is. Maybe it's 0.9. And maybe that's how I have to look at all of these golfers, is trying to find 0.9 value. I'm just going to go with 0.9. Just makes it simpler. So yeah, I think, do we think Brooks could get first or second with the questions that we have surrounding him? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not positive. I think some of this, like this calculation I just provided you, I know some of you guys are like, well, okay, that's for your top priced guy. It still could be like Matthew Wolff if we were to do that. I know there's probably a faster way than just keep doing it this way, but at least now you guys can see what I'm doing. Oh no, I don't want to do it that way. Am I doing this right? Oh yes, I am. I'm sorry. I'm being really stupid right now. 69.3 for Matthew Wolff. Do we think he can get 69 points? Like, I don't know what finishing position that would be. That could be like 20th. Maybe not a lot of. I would say he can get 69.3 pretty easily. And I guess we could do those calculations based off of how many fantasy points per game that they have. That's probably a good way to do it, in all honesty. So that doesn't really quite match, but don't get me wrong, he can exceed that, and that's what you want. That's what you want to forecast when it comes to these players. You want them to exceed their fantasy points per game. Like if you were going, well, Matthew Wolff hasn't gotten there yet, well, what are the chances that he might? Probably pretty good. He's a talented golfer. So whatever model or whatever you use, probably a good thing to do. But that's kind of more of an experimentation for me. Now we've only gotten to like the 4th, 5th golfer. Ian Poulter, that's good. 85. I'm not sure how I feel about that. 8,500 for Ian Poulter, we haven't seen much of. This is a golf course he does well at, so, you know, maybe you just play him because. Sungjae, maybe a decent play. Difficult for kind of how poorly he's been playing lately, but we're on a different surface, so this probably might be kind of a rejuvenation for him. Ricky Fowler. Okay. You guys can take a snapshot of this. I'm not going to go through everyone. I think Jim Furyk pops out for me. Zach Johnson pops out for me just based off of salary and overall Bermuda. Austin Cook has been struggling lately. Denny McCarthy, actually, although we talked about it before, him being a 2-1 actually perks my interest. So definitely thinking about that. These threes here, they're not going to really, I'm not going to be concerned by it. I think it's actually decent to think about. But let's go ahead and go by top 10 Bermuda percentage. Again, I'm going to let you guys take a snapshot of this. This is how often someone finishes inside the top 10. So 25% clip and better. You have all these dark green colors, which means it indicates it's good. Actually, I'm going to make these light green since there's so many of them. So either way, you guys can see these golfers. I'm not going to talk about all of them. We'll just leave it at that. Your 2020, again, we only have like 4 events that comprise of this average, but you can see the top golfers here. Concerning to see a 6-4 up top. 6s usually don't do that well at tournaments. Not saying we can't have any mold breakers, but other than Woodland, who knows? Okay. Those were the grass stats. I'm going to go so much faster throughout the swing stats. So I'm going to go ahead, remove all of the Well, first of all, here you go. Here are all the golfers that do not have enough rounds of golf to create stats. So you see Eric Van Rooyen in here. You see Justin Rose, Charles Schwartzel, Brooks Koepka, Ian Poulter, even Lee Westwood, Matt Wallace. Those are notable golfers to keep your eyes on. I am going to remove them because I don't want to see all these blanks. But yes, here we go. Your top tee to green guy that actually has stats that qualify from the PGA website, Harold Varner III, your top tee to green guy. And again, I'm not talking about this. We already saw approach mattered and green and reg mattered. Tee to green, we found a couple. So go ahead, pause, look at the golfers here. Again, I'm doing that for off the tee. Like, it didn't really matter, but you could find 2 golfers. Again, you can pause, take a look at this. Shot gain approach. This is where we kind of want to find our bread and butter. Maybe don't be too obvious and just select the guys up at the top. Maybe select some of these guys in the middle, or find a high price guy like a Tommy Fleetwood or even a Joaquin Niemann. I accidentally selected that, but sure. Yeah, I think you can pick any of these golfers that have good approach stats. I'll leave it up to you guys. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not talking about it. This video is already at 56 minutes long, so I need to quicken this up. Around the green, remember that wasn't a stat that really applied. If you see golfers here that you're convinced you shouldn't be playing because it didn't apply, maybe you just X them out of your player pool. Putting, I'm not going to be too resistant on putting. I do like Denny McCarthy, seeing Louis Oosthuizen in there. That was one, like, that's not a, I don't remember how many tournaments this consists of. It could just be the WGC Mexico, honestly. But yeah. Use your judgment. I'm going to go ahead, hide this stuff. So now we can finally get here. I'm also hiding this because we don't need to really see rounds of golf or number of holes. I just want to bring the driving stats into play so you guys can see it. There. Everything should be on the screen now. Green and reg, again, this goes kind of hand in hand with approach. So we could find 5 golfers in the top 20 here. Go ahead, pick out your favorite golfers and apply them accordingly. Proximity didn't really matter, but you might be able to find an edge within there. Birdie or better did matter, so you could probably combine birdie or better with approach and find some decent golfers. Really, Xinjun Jiang is the only guy that we can find in the top 20 of birdie or better that has good. Oh, that's around the green. Don't mind me. Chesson Hadley, Gary Woodland, Nick Watney, Victor Hovland, Stuart Sink. And also these yellow stats here would also be decent too. So you got Burgoon, Xinjun, so we could easily talk about him. Sungjae, he's a popular guy for everyone. Definitely think about him. Gary Woodland's in there. We already talked about him. Ricky Fowler as well. Sorry, I didn't select that, but there you go. Maybe even mix that with green and reg. So like Chesson Hadley, pretty good. Nick Watney, same thing. Gary Woodland also. So maybe Woodland might be one of my new favorites. It's interesting. What was Tommy Fleetwood's? So that's not very good, birdie better. And I'm not saying you have to select everyone. If you went back to the 2019 DK review, you're going to see that, not everyone was in this, light green color. You would have seen, well, it wouldn't even be by color because that didn't apply. I did the color coding so different back then. But top to bottom, you've seen the top 20 golfers. And then what their birdie or better ranking would be. You could figure it out. I'm not going to go back there. I do think, I'm not going to go through driving distance or driving accuracy, but I'm going to do a good drive percentage. And I would think, I'm going to be interested to see what this looks like during the review, but I would think we might find a good amount of golfers in here that finish inside the top 20. And a good amount, I mean like somewhere between 6 and 10 golfers. So this is your top 20. So I think maybe 6 or 10 golfers will finish inside the top 20. But that's just a hunch. That's not something I've seen in the past. It's just a hunch. Okay. We've been through it all. I apologize for the video being as long as it is. I definitely went a little too long on some of the stats that I talked about, but I think I gave you a pretty good in-depth review of this. Yeah, I think so, or preview of what to look for and what we can see with what we have so far. Again, we'll add 4 more players for the lineup construction, most likely. Might even be 5 or 6 because we might have some withdrawals. I do want to call out a user that, or a person who reached out and provided some good feedback. He wanted me to use DraftKings points for a bucket system, for the bucket system scoring as opposed to finishing position, which I think is a really good idea. I just don't know where to find those stats. So thank you, Johnny, for bringing that out. Again, I want to implore anyone that has feedback to give it to me, because I want to make this as good as possible. I want to make it, one of the best places to find golf analysis on YouTube. Maybe somewhere down the road I'll be on like Apple Radio, or not Apple Radio, whatever, all the other different just audio only type of platforms. But for the time being, for YouTube, I want to be as transparent as possible and give you as much information to look at, as opposed to kind of keeping things hidden and say, hey, please purchase this because you'll find this or whatever. I still want to provide that down the road. But I'm still going to give you this flat spreadsheet to look at. We'll still go over that. But there's still going to be perks as if you were to purchase. If I have something for you to purchase, there'll be perks of owning that as opposed to just getting this. But either way, thank you again, Johnny, for the feedback. I appreciate it. I'm going to leave the video at that. I appreciate you guys being here as long as you did. Please give a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you with the lineup construction video either tomorrow or Wednesday. We shall see. All right. See ya.